There's lots of poems in the Australian bush tradition of people being taken down when they're drunk. It was a fact that the old itinerant workers, they worked hard and they played bloody hard. There was a term that was used for those sort of people that blew their cheque before they were able to get home to their loved ones. It was called being lambed down, taken for a ride, and many a man's cheque ended up over the other side of the bar, sometimes even their saddle and bridle, and I've even heard of their dog and horse jumping the bar to pay for their dreaded bar bills. And then, of course, after 3 days, it was customary that these poor sods were thrown in a room at the back of the pub. It was usually out in the garden, usually had a very small window. You were lucky if it opened. There'd be blowflies bashing their heads on either side, some trying to get in, some trying to get out, and it was always known as the dead house. The dead house. That's where you woke up after a 3-day binge. I think the origin of that was that in the early days, when many of these country towns didn't have a morgue, or the police station didn't have anywhere to put deceased people, the hotels had to. They were under the colonial law. They had to keep a room at the back, which was called the dead house. So that's where that came from. By the flowing river Gwydir lived a wicked red-backed spider. He was just about as wicked as can be, and the place that he was camped in was a rusty Jonesy's jam tin in the paddock near the showground at Moree. Now, beside him lay a shearer snoozing. He'd been on the beer and boozing all the day and all the previous night before, and the cooking of the cookers, and the noise of showground spruikers failed to wake him from the trance in which he lay. Then a crafty-looking spieler with a dainty-looking shealer come along collecting wood to make a fire. Said the spieler, "There's a boozer. He's going to be a loser. Wriggle round, honey, and I'll fan the mug for money, and we'll have some luxuries for tea." She answered, "Don't be silly. You go back and boil the billy. You can safely leave the mug to little me." Well, she circled him near her till she reached the dopey shearer, with his pockets fast asleep and snug, but she didn't see the spider that was ringing just beside her, for her mind was on the money in the mug. Well, the spider, he wanted dinner. He was daily growing thinner, and his stomach was holler as an urn. As she eyed the bulging pocket, he just started like a rocket, and he bit the spieler's shealer on the stern. Ooh, with a scream she raced off. Would hear a scream would make you feel forlorn. On the bite, one hand was pressing, and the other was undressing, and she reached the camp the way that she was born. Now the shearer, he woke, and back to town he staggered, where he caught the train and gave the booze a rest, and he'll never know that a spider camped by the River Gwydir that saved him of 57 of the best.